Alright, hello and welcome to my comic book history video here showing some different catalogs from the late 1970s, I would say it's 1979 in particular, to about 1982 or 83, I believe. This, pre-internet, very pre-internet, and I mean, if you wanted to mail order or if you wanted to order comic books, you had to mail away for catalogs, and I believe it was the comic book or the buyer's guide for comic book fandom is often where you could get some of these types of sources that you can write in for a catalog. Now, I also attended some conventions in the Los Angeles area, and possibly some of these comic book stores might have been displaying at these shows, and I might have got some of their information that way, or maybe they were giving away catalogs. I don't remember, but often their order forms or whatnot used to just be some kind of typewritten, copied sheet. I don't know. It was probably Xeroxes back then. I don't remember. I don't see any mimeograph types of prints here, but I don't remember. But just to give you kind of an idea of what these used to be, they would always, it looks like I haven't pulled these out in like 35 years or whenever they came out, but I noticed there's always kind of a specific date on here, that so someone wouldn't be mail ordering and sending in a check based on a certain, sheet here. But let's take a look at some of the prices back then, and we'll see what kind of I don't know, offers and whatnot were out there at the time. Now, of course, the Overstreet price guide was out at that time, but I don't know, I mean, things change monthly, or I don't know if things changed that fast back then, but quite often, I'm guessing the Overstreet price guide, they had to get those, kind of figure out the prices at a certain point in time, which could be, I don't know, it could be 6 months or a year before the actual time that was printed out and available for market. So, on the kind of the hotter books, they were kind of, kind of out of date. So you would get kind of a better indication of the prices based on these types of, order forms or, catalogs in the day. But the thing that I was always kind of, puzzled at was you'd get a sheet like this full of the prices and whatnot, and I always thought, well, how many copies do they have? And back then, you would typically see something like, okay, comic books are in fine or better condition. So back then, we were talking about fine, very fine, near mint, or mint. Okay, so I mean, fine to near, mint. Mint back then wasn't not, who knows if it was 9.8, you know what I mean? Mint back then, I think, was anything from, I'm guessing by today's standards, 9.2 to 9 point, to 10. I don't know. You never knew. But I ordered some things back then. I was like a, middle school, early high school kid. And I mean, I was always pretty pleased when I mail ordered things, you know what I mean? I was never kind of let down like, oh my God, this is a terrible thing here. But I don't know, when you see these types of listings like this, I mean, this is someone on a typewriter, probably with some whiteout typing these things out. Wasn't word processing back then. And I don't know, on this one right here, this is from Golden State Comics, and they were in San Diego. I didn't attend the San Diego Comic Book Convention until about 1984, I believe. So this was one that I don't know if they were at that convention that I used to attend up in Los Angeles, a couple different incarnations of it, but this one right here is all DC on this side. This is the way they did it, and Marvel on this side. So let's check out some of the things. Now, keys back then were, keys back then for, I mean, there were the standard keys and whatnot, but it was often things like anything X-Men were super popular in the late 70s and early 80s. I mean, they're still popular these days, but key issues back then were things like any appearance by any X-Men, okay? We can look in here. Here's a Daredevil right here. I mean, people weren't looking for like the Punisher, so number 119 through 144 were 75 cents. Okay. Let's look at the Hulk. Now, Hulk 181 was a known quantity. So, Hulk 181 here, if I can focus in here, says inquire, okay? But 180, let's see if it's noted. Okay, now 180 they knew, okay? So it's listed up here with the 111 through 120. They put 180 up there. And that's $3. I'm not going to be able to focus in on all this stuff, type of stuff right here. But let's say 182 was just the standard $1.25. No one was, no one cared about that. And even 180, I mean, back then, you were able to find that, you know, in long boxes, not even marked up. They weren't thinking about that a lot of times. Like Tomb of Dracula and Blade. I forgot what issue that is and stuff. I'm not real up to date on everything, but I've been checking things out lately, pulling out my comic books after a long time um, in storage. Let's see, what are some of those other big ones? I don't know. X-Men, all the X-Men's, those weren't, anything that you can get cheap back then. Everyone was looking for everything that, Tomb of Dracula, what I can't remember the Blade one in there. But anyways, you can see these things like this. Now, granted, this is a very long time ago. This is the October 1980 list. If I was collecting back then, it would be like me looking back at a catalog from like 1940. You know what I mean? And those Golden Age books or whatnot, they would have been nothing, if there was some catalog, back in 1940 for the current books. But look at this one right here. This is, collecting was going on. There were conventions, but there weren't like gigantic conventions. It was all just straight comic books back then if you were going to a comic book show. This is a professionally printed little pamphlet here done in, I don't know why they printed it in blue. It's almost like a non-repro blue right here. And it was really hard to read for me right now, even. But looks like it starts off as all Marvel, and it looks like they did some kind of typesetting on this. And this one looks like professional typesetting right here. They might have hired some kind of printing house to put this type of thing together here. But oh, I don't know. Let's take a look here, and let's see. I don't know if I see a date in here. There might be some kind of interior spread for this catalog here. Looking around to see. I'm looking to see what company this even is. I don't see it here. They might have had an insert with some sort of order form for you. But Marvel was the thing, for the most part back then. The only kind of real popular DC title were the new Teen Titans here. But let's take a look at Fantastic Four number 48. Now this one breaks it down between good, very good, fine, and near mint, mint. Okay, so number 48, it has 0 here, so maybe they didn't have any copies of it. But like 49 and 50 were all $15 in near mint, mint. Okay, so there, this was maybe this was like a 1983 one where prices were starting to get caught up a little bit. Hulk 181 was $8. Number 180, though, is just grouped in with the 151 through 180, so it's $3 here. So, I mean, there wasn't, without, like, the internet and, just kind of the central type of knowledge base, it was just stores, just kind of, I don't know, looking at the Overstreet, but, I don't know, they would have to go to conventions and get kind of the gist of what things were going after. Here's Marvel Spotlight, okay? Ghost Rider wasn't a really, big character or anything like that, but here, near mint, mint, 350, I doubt if it's a 9.8 or something like that, but, that you would get, but who knows? You can buy, 10 of them for $35 if they even had it, but that was always the thing that kind of was interesting to me was, if you mail order something like this in, what they would often ask for were alternates, because you're going to send a check in for that amount, and you have to come out. What if they run out of something? How many people are ordering these things? Do they have 1 copy or 5 or 10 or whatever? You didn't really know, so you would put this alternate listing of, okay, if you don't have something, then you have these other books that they can possibly send to you. So that was always kind of an interesting thing. Discount Comics here. I looked to see if they are still around. I didn't see some of these companies around, like Golden State Comics here. I didn't see any kind of information for them. Oh, here, this is the American Comic Book Company in Studio City. Oh, okay, that one went to that. I'll show you this other thing with that professional printing on there. But look at this one right here. This is a big, huge kind of newsprint style of publication. So they must have been a pretty big, fish, and I don't know, whatever, a little pond back then. So 50 cents here. So they weren't making any money on this type of thing because this is all professional type setting and stuff like that, unless somebody at this company or store happened to have some kind of publishing experience, and with, being able to do this type of thing right here, which I'm guessing they might have had, maybe it was someone coming from some sort of a, newspaper background or something like that, or publishing background, and they were into comic books as well. But this was a really fantastic one right here. Well, let's take a look here. Look at this one right here. This is, let me see, does it have the date? Okay, so this is 1979 right here, okay? And, I mean, a publication like this, too, it would probably take a long time to typeset everything like this and get everything laid out. But here is Hulk. I mean, it's like the Wolverine stuff isn't even kind of on there. So, see, Hulk 181, I would point to it right there, but see, 181 is grouped, 181 through 203 is 250 in the near mint. There's 180 right below it, 151 through 180, that's $3. So it's not even kind of, I don't know, acknowledging, the Wolverine appearance in that. So I don't know. If you would have ordered that now, by the time this thing came out, who knows if it would have changed prices or whatnot. Back then, something like Howard the Duck was way more expensive than a lot of things out there. $20 for the Howard the Duck #1. And, I don't know. This was just a really fantastic publication here. I'm sure I was psyched about this one when it came out. Now, let's see what the price for X-Men number 94 cost $20 in near mint, okay. But now here's giant size X-Men near mint for $25. So those were a couple big books back then. But what I seem to recall when I first started collecting, around that time, I remember a lot of times when we went to conventions or whatever, 94 was just as expensive as giant size. They were roughly, they're right in there as far as that same kind of price area. Look at this Warlock #1 here. $750, but, thinking back to that, the Hulk there, $181 for a couple bucks or something like that. And, okay, so, about the Amazing Spider-Man, what is it, $129 was it? Okay. That wasn't the big one. It was the Death of the Green Goblin, I think. I forgot what issue that was. But here it is, right? I'm sorry about this. There's no good way to kind of do this, but let's see if I can. Okay. This is Spider-Man right here, okay? But if you can see that 124 through 143, near mint, 250. All right, Punisher, not really a big deal because he wasn't, a terribly big character at that point in time. So I don't know. You see all these things like that, the Black Cat or something like this, or all these kind of these days, a key book, with some kind of really, I don't know, I think kind of insignificant character, just going for tons, just because it's their first appearance. So something like the Punisher, back then wasn't, too big of a deal. Now this is where they start going into the DC. I wasn't a big collector of a lot of the DC stuff here, but here's like Demon. I do have a lot of these books, like #1 issues. It's because I used to go to these conventions. Here's Freedom Fighters, I think #1. I think I have that one. But there used to be this guy at this table that just, at conventions, I don't think anything was board and bagged. I think he just had them in stacks. Everything was like 50 cents. So, there'd be, a lot of people at his booth just kind of going through and looking for number one issues and stuff like that. I have like the Shadow number one. And those weren't things that I was looking for back then. So I'm assuming it was just on those, those 50-cent tables. And I remember that, they were in pretty decent shape. And I don't know, I wouldn't look through there too much because, a lot of times in some ways they were just kind of, I don't know, junk books back then, worth a pretty good amount now. But anyways, this was a fantastic book here. They were advisors to the price guide since 1973. So I don't know how you get to, how that, like Hulk 181 wasn't, worth much of anything. Here was another fantastic, catalog right here with professional printing and whatnot by Discount Comics. I looked up them. I didn't see them around either, but expires March 1st, 1979 right here. But, I like all these little, kind of black and white covers in here, which is pretty cool. Let's take a look and see what this one is. So, expires March 1st, 1979. Let's go and look at the Hulk 181 here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Hulk 181. Okay, look at this. 175 through 181, $1.50. But they do note first Wolverine in 180 and 181, $1.50 there. And look at this right here in 182. The biggest thing about that is first and only appearance of Crackerjack Jackson, $1 right here, if you can see that. So anyways, back then I picked up 3 copies of 180 at one convention. They probably cost me like, I don't know, $1.50 or $2 each. And I only got it because I got them signed, and and they were cheap. So anyway. But anyways, just a fantastic little book right here. Okay, let's see. This was in Santee, California, Discount Comics, order form. Okay. And let's see. Okay, look at it right here. This is what they would typically put on like all of these order forms. Please list all alternate and free choices on the back of this form. Minimum order is $3, $1 service charge for returning orders under the minimum. Oh my gosh, so someone's going to send in an order for $2 or something like that, maybe. Maybe they'd be sending cash or something like that back then, But free comic books right down here. If you order $10, you get 40 cents for free. That's kind of interesting. I never used this order form, but I don't remember if I ordered from them or not. Alternate choices here, see? Alternate choices, and it's the whole form right here. So hopefully you didn't send it in and, get, nothing what you wanted. I don't know. Well, it looks like they had a couple different order forms in here. Printed into the this thing. Look how yellow this is now. Comic books wanted here. This is their want list. I'm looking at Hulk. Hulk 181 wasn't a problem. Back in 1979. A couple of years later, it did become a little bit. It was one of the more expensive books. I picked up 2 of them, and they were still reasonable. They were still a lot less than, say, like a lot of the X-Men. 94 and through whatever. But Spider-Man, they're not asking for 129 or anything like that. It's just, who knows? I probably could have went to a I didn't pick any of those up because I wasn't interested, but, too bad. But, okay, now, final one, Atlantis Fantasy World here. I'm not going to go flip through. I know this is probably boring for everyone, but let's take a look at this publication right here. This is a really great one. Now, this is a place that I noticed is still around, okay? But really fantastic, professional typesetting and everything like that. This looks like the DC section right here. Let's see here. Eerie, Mad. Okay, these are magazines right here. This looks like a place that was really kind of, really well stocked at the time. There's a lot of different things out here. And just to print something like this for kind of an individual, sole proprietor comic book store in probably the size that they were at back then, you know. This is really something, but it looks like they had some pretty big, you know, books back then. Green Lantern #1, you know, here's a bunch of detectives in here. Justice League, you know. But it's kind of interesting how some things are just so relatively, you know, comparatively inexpensive compared to other ones, but since this time have exponentially out, you know, um, gained, you know, something else in you know over the years. Here's X-Men #1, $120. Let's see what they say here in terms of condition here. I'm not sure what it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All comics are in fine or better condition. Alternates appreciated. If you don't see what you want, please write. It's not even like call it in. You know, calling it in was really expensive back then. But here's a Fantastic Four 48 for $24. Okay, and Hulk 181 was $8. And again, you know, 180 was $1.25. So not much more expensive than. Let's see. It doesn't have a date. Okay, this is 1980. What was that? Was that 40 cents or something like that? Were the cover prices of the new ones? So you could have hooked up with, you know, for the price of like 3 brand new books, like a Hulk 180 at the time, in fine or better condition. But here's an Avengers #1, $240. How many of those would they have in stock? And maybe there's, you know, even something like that. Maybe they didn't sell too many of them. Here's the Marvel Spotlight #5, $3 there, you know. But you never knew what you were going to get, you know, in terms of, you know, grading and whatnot. So, I don't know, but like I said, you know, I didn't mail order a lot, but, you know, I just went to different shows and I saved my money for the shows and went to them. But I don't know, I was glad to see they were still in business. And look at this right here. This is July 4th, 1981. Okay, help us celebrate our 5th year in business. Okay, so 76 or something like that is when they started. Pretty early for a comic book store, but maybe having that kind of, maybe in the mid 70s, if you get started like that, you have a big jump on the competition by the time the 80s rolled around, and you know, kind of the hobby started really taking off at what time. So let's see, this one was, let's see here. I don't see the date on this one right here, but going in here, Hulk 181. Oh, see this one from that previous one to this one, Hulk 181. Yeah, it really caught up here. Here's the Hulk 181. Do you see it where it says Wolverine right there? $25, okay. And 182, okay, they caught on right here. 180, right above that, is $12, and 182 is $5.25, you know. We're not highlighting Cracker Jack Jackson or something like that at that time. Here's the Fantastic Four right there. And number 48 for Silver Surfer, $24 there. So anyways, I don't know, kind of interesting. Okay, now look at this Marvel Spotlight. They bumped that Marvel Spotlight #5 up to, you know, the same pricing as the #1 and 2 right there. $3. If we can all go back in time, huh? Wouldn't be too bad. Look at this Nova #1 at the time. $5.25, right? And what would you rather have? Would you rather have that or the, I don't know, Hulk 182? That was the same price there, you know. But anyways, here's Marvel Premiere #1, Origin Warlock, $5.25. I don't know if we knew back then what we know now, but I had a pretty good idea. I picked up enough of those Hulks there, you know. But of course you can't, you know, you miss out on some things. But I kept my, you know, my, I don't know, my catalogs and pricing sheets here. Because when you're a collector, you know, you tended to start saving everything. But I wish I had some of the buyer's guides for Comic Fandom publications that would come out. That really gave you a pretty good idea of, you know, the current prices and whatnot. I remember there was, in some of them, there was like handwritten, kind of like listings of comic books for sale. So how many of those could they have had? I ordered stuff from those, and I was always wondering, am I going to get that? Because when other people that are getting this magazine and be ordering the same thing. So it was always kind of a mystery to me. But I think for the most part, I used to get the ones that I wanted, but maybe I wasn't ordering stuff like, the hot books, like Hulk 181 out of, this, you know, Last Fantasy World or something like that. I don't know, back then I was collecting, various first appearances, or not first appearances, but appearances of X-Men in various books and whatnot. And I loved Iron Man too, which wasn't a hot title at the time either. So, but I just liked it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the little, walkthrough of the, ancient, comic book catalogs and whatnot. Thought I'd get those down in some kind of record, for all these great comic book, sources that may be not around any longer. All right, thanks for